Berger.
And I'm Amanda Lynn.
And this is the Gilded Cage Podcast.
Welcome. So we're just going to talk to each other and...
we want to be the weirdos who stare at you the whole time?
Yeah, we're not doing that. We just kind of want to go ahead and just do an introduction. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time. I've wanted to do one, and it just kind of hit me that you are the right person to start a podcast with.
I know. I was like, oh, man, it's going to start a podcast. Oh, crap. Now I'm going to be on a podcast.
I know. I was like, this is too... There's so many of our conversations...
Could have been podcasts.
Could have been, and probably should have been podcasts.
We're going to fix y'all.
We're trying to fix ourselves in the process. Maybe y'all are just as messed up as we are.
Come join us in Crazy Town.
So we're both singer-songwriters. I've been doing this for forever. I was a teenager writing songs. As a kid, I was writing songs. My first record deal in my early 20s. Been through a lot, lived in Nashville. We both lived in Nashville. Yep.
You learned the hard way how the music business treats women.
Yes, definitely did. Definitely.
That'll be coming. We'll talk lots about that.
Yeah. And you are also an amazing painter, artist, creator, writer.
I create things.
Beautiful voice. Yeah. So we're both kind of in that world, and also kind of living in our hometown again, around our families.
Life has its
and
challenges.
Kind of going through dealing with maybe some past issues that we had growing up, and really diving into those things. And we grew up in pretty different lives, but also similar.
Yeah, it's amazing how similarities run between when things are not stable.
Right. No matter the economic, status or lifestyle. I was thinking about this on the way over here. So many people think that money fixes it. For some reason, I was just thinking about like reality shows and like famous families on reality shows.
If I get $1 million, I'll be happy.
Right. And it's like, yeah, you're just going to be miserable sitting in a golden house. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not happy within here.
The Gilded Cage.
The Gilded Cage, exactly. If you're not happy inside, and you're not really trying to figure out what those issues are, because I think probably most of us have some type of trauma that we've had to deal with in our life.
I tell people all the time, they're like, why are your songs sad? And I said, if you're past toddler, you had a trauma in your life.
Yeah.
Songs can't all be happy. They
Right.
have to be about reality. They have to pull you in the emotion, and that's why you connect to a song, is because it has an emotion that you say, oh, I feel that.
Right.
If they were all, don't worry, be happy. Okay, well, you get really, that's my version of hell, would be to only ever hear that song.
Only ever hear that song.
Yeah.
Because you want to be able to relate, when you're going through a difficult time. And there's times when Don't Worry, Be Happy is perfect, but there's times where you want to be like, oh my God, they have been down in the trenches, just like me. They feel the same way. I need
a Gary Allen album every once in a while.
There's something magical about a good, heartfelt song, If I'm really feeling down, I could go listen to Relatively Easy by Jason Isbell most any time, and I'm like, all right, I've got to put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Things could be a lot worse than they are. And
I go pull out the Gary Allen albums and
Gary Allen
okay,
albums.
man, dude's been through it.
Right. And so I think you and I both tend to go on the darker side of writing. And lately I've been in this like love song mode that I didn't even really know I could write, love songs. I was like, everybody else is better at that than me. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, I kind of freeze. I
have one on paper now.
And I'm like, this person?
I have one sitting there, and I'm like, if I make this, are people going to think I'm a nut? Because I don't write like this.
She doesn't have a cold black heart. Don't tell anybody.
Please don't tell anybody. It's what I'm known for.
For real. I'm like the villain of my family. So,
There's a Civil Wars album that was that was recorded at Eddie's attic, and they said, we're here to make you sad. And that's what Lee likes to say when we get on stage. He's like, we're here to make you sad. And I'm like, yeah.
Just to feel it, like there's songs for everything. But yeah, so that's what we do. And we really try to work through, I know I was in therapy for a little while, just really trying to work through different things in my life, and then things that were problems for me I did not even realize started perking up and right in my face. I started reading different books, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is just kind of this little issue that I knew was kind of some kind of weird issue that I had, but I didn't realize the full spectrum and the depth of the problem.
And what it built upon.
Yes.
For me, it was what it built upon. It wasn't that, oh, this person is the. It's not that this person is the bad guy. This person is the villain. You know, it's not this, like, you know, everybody says, oh, you go to therapy and then this one person becomes the villain. It's not that way for me, but that instability, that, you know, like people talk about walking on eggshells or being on an escalator where it's constantly moving and you don't have a stable foundation, sets you up for other people to come into your world that take your stability.
Right. And
So
I didn't
you
even
stay
know that.
off of kilter all the time.
Yeah. And you put up, especially if you go through childhood trauma and you put up these different barriers, you know, the fight or flight, whatever it is. Like I have a tendency when things get a little rocky and uneven for me, I have a tendency to be like, all right, see ya. Here goes all emotions. Totally. All emotions are cut off. You're dead to me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Because it's too painful to push through it. You know, that was something that I learned early on, to just cut it off. And I think I was a pretty sensitive kid, so I had to learn that.
Yeah, and mindfulness has been big for me, learning to sit with something instead of running from it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, I hide in my art sometimes, but sometimes I have to, before I go and do that, or while I'm doing it, I actually sit with the feeling as I'm putting it onto the canvas, because used to I would just put the emotion in the canvas and not really deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just come out exhausted and go sleep and think, oh, it's all better, but I wasn't really dealing with it. I was just putting it somewhere else. And then I look at the piece of art and I'm like, okay, what does this say?
Yeah.
But instead, as I'm doing it, I'm thinking about it. And then when I finally started doing that and saying, this hurts and this is painful, and I'm going to put this on this canvas, and it's still going to be beautiful, but my pain is going to go into this paint or into this song. And then when I sing it, I get relief every time. And I get a chance to give that to somebody else. Yeah. When people message you or call you or comment and say, I've been through this.
Right.
This is so healing for me to hear that you understand.
That's what's happened a few times with the songs that I've written, you know, having just somebody that connects and I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to so-and-so song that helped me get through this. I'm like, really? My little song?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize, too, in writing for so many years, I kept kind of going towards this same vibe. Like so many times it kept pulling this same feeling, and I think I kept doing what you're saying. It's just pushing it into a song and not dealing with it.
Right, you're not healing from it, so you're giving it to another song, and for a moment you feel better.
Yep.
And then that song, and then someone says, oh, I connect to that, and then you think, all right, so I'm doing the right thing, and you are helping, and you are healing, but you're healing way slower than if you wrote the song, put all the emotion into it, and then sat down and looked at it and said, what is this actually about?
When I started going to therapy, I was going for a completely different reason. And my therapist started suggesting these books, and I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, that was me. That was what I dealt with. You know, that's what I'm dealing with. I didn't realize. And so in that trauma, I've built up all these different, like I was saying, the coping mechanisms and things that might have helped me then to cope, but now just completely detrimental as an adult that I have to push through and not do.
And we talk about that a lot. That's why we're here. We talk about that so much because you call me when you're ready to run now instead of running.
Yes, I do.
You know? and so I'm like, Amanda's made so much progress. I'm so excited because she calls before she runs. But you know, you still feel that need sometimes because it's a complete gut instinct.
Yeah.
You don't know anything but that when you're frightened.
Yeah. I used to fight a lot more too. But as I've gotten older, the fight is hold back a lot more because I'm too tired to fight. I don't care. I know that it doesn't do anything.
And you
it's
see
there.
The carnage that comes from fight, because fight leaves wounds that can never heal.
I've gotten hurt so bad from the fight, from the other side of it, growing up that I just I don't want to do that anymore. I mean, there's times when you need to stand your ground, obviously, and stand up for yourself. But just the constant fight or flight over every little thing is just, I really
you want to calm
be
that
better
now. Yeah, and I was thinking about that. Yesterday something made me really angry. I wanted to fight, but I thought, what purpose does the fight serve?
Yeah.
Right now, does it serve anything other than a release?
Right. It's just it's this emotion. This emotion is gonna pass,
and then I can process and decide what needs to be done.
Yes. That's something that I've really been dealing with the last few months.
Yeah, you got some stuff going, don't you, girl?
Got some stuff going on, yeah. Some people know, I guess, and some people probably don't, but I was in a marriage for 17 years. The last few years of it were like tumultuous.
It was heavy.
And off. Yeah. There were like good days where we're like gonna try, and then there's days where we weren't, it was like, what's over, we're done.
Yeah, and I mean we rode this road a lot together,
yeah.
and I never was like, I never felt like he was a bad guy or a villain. It was just, it didn't feel, there wasn't a connection anymore to me that I saw between you guys.
We had both put each other through so much hurt and pain. I think that we had both crossed so many lines that I don't think we could get back. And I don't have any hard feelings for him now. And, we have a child together and everything. But, the whole situation ended up blowing up, and so many, folks got involved that really had nothing to do with it. And
right. And it makes life hard when people jump in on judgment on something that they don't understand or they're not part of.
Right. And I wasn't perfect. I should have handled things differently myself in so many aspects of my marriage, and that's one thing that I want to learn from. I've lived in so much fear.
Who honestly out there can say, "Oh, I've never done anything, stupid in my," especially if you've made it 17 years. And you got married at 19.
I was 18.
18. Okay, so that's even better,
Right? I know, that's crazy.
And you were together since junior high, right?
Well, since I was 15, since high school.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a lifetime.
Yeah, and so it was really hard, I think, for both of us too, because we had become more just like friends, had
really
this
good roommates.
Yeah, we had this kind of a strange bond with each other, and even when we talk now, we still kind of have this like, it's almost like a sibling rivalry that we have with each other. Even communicating about our daughter, and I can almost see that we both get a little fixated on one-upping each other, but it's really all in fun now. I really don't have
it's not a power play anymore, and now it's just
I don't have
it's just banter, and you deal
as long as we both came to the agreement, and it was really hard at the beginning.
Oh gosh,
but
yeah.
I mean, he started dating someone within a month of everything going down. I obviously had a relationship. So we both just came to the agreement that we want to co-parent our daughter and just try to get along the best that we can for her so that she can see us getting along. And I feel like she sees us get along better now than she did when we were married. And she's told me before, that she's much happier with us not being together.
And that's huge, because she can actually see your happiness, his happiness, and her happiness grow from the separation. And most kids of divorce don't go through that. They go through the other. You guys have made it so open and honest with her that you don't, she's not having to go through, she's not drug into the fight.
Right. She's
kept out of the fight on both sides, and that's a big thing for a kid, because there are studies now that show that, they say, oh, kids deal better with divorce than adults do with divorce. Well, no, because they carry that burden, that worry that it was them.
Yeah.
She knows that it's not her.
I was a child of divorce, and I always felt like I didn't have a home.
Right.
And so that was just my feeling, like there's nowhere that I belong. This is my mom and whoever she's with and her family, and then my dad has his family, and I don't belong anywhere. So with Lindley, we just really wanted to make sure that she didn't feel that way. Like, that's my number one priority. Like, you are my baby, no matter what. It is you and I against the world.
Yeah.
I got you. And, I continue to kind of reiterate that, which, we've got she's 11 now, so we're entering this awesome, fun little Mouthy
stage.
She
is mouthy. I like that though.
Goodness gracious.
Mama gets paid back.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah. Everybody that's kind of hurt her mouth is like, oh, you so deserve that. You know? Yeah, I'm sure that I do, but yeah.
But you have the chance to change all the things in a way that you went through for her.
I do. And you know what? It's so crazy because I see so much too, just like where things come from. Like what my parents did wrong and how easy it would be for me to make those same choices because that's what happened to me. And so, and sometimes I slip, you know, I'm like, oh, I should not have handled that situation. I should have been more understanding.
But you're really good about going back to her and saying, I made a mistake. And that's huge. In all the books I've read, all the things that I've seen, the apologies go a long way, especially if the children know that they're sincere and they feel your emotion, that because it takes 10 good things to make up for one bad.
Right. And I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then repeat the same behavior all the time, back and forth. I really want
because that's what creates
I need to learn.
That's what creates that instability that we were talking about, like the escalator. You know, the floor is moving under you at all times.
Yeah.
If she doesn't know at any moment you're going to blow on her, that's such an unstable environment for her psyche to grow in, and she's artistic as well. She's really talented at music and art and all of these things. You don't want that. You don't want her to stop that because she feels like she can't.
And she's so confident with me. Is what's crazy because I never was confident like that with love, you know, from my parents. And she is so. And so I project myself onto her. I feel like sometimes too, like where I'm like, she probably doesn't feel loved, but then she'll come in and just be, you know, you can just tell. And I'm like, okay, she totally feels loved. She doesn't worry about that.
Her self-confidence has not been destroyed.
No, and you know that I love you, right? She's like, I mean, you tell me all the time. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, Mom, but sometimes you kind of tell me too much, and I'm just like, okay.
That's the fun routine.
Yeah, so she's different than me. We're not the same person. I'm not ruining her life. She's okay. You know. So
contrary to popular belief,
she's totally fine.
So we need to talk about
she's
that.
Thriving. Yeah.
Why does everyone want to give you such a hard time?
Everyone wants to give me such a hard time because I'm in a relationship with my stepbrother. I know it's like Alabama, Arkansas. No, it's Georgia over here.
It took me 5 minutes before I was like, you told me, and I was like, that's weird, and then I went, no, it's really not. How is that any different than you dating this person, your dad and his mom meeting and marrying?
Yeah.
How would that have been any different? I mean, if you had been, and you've told me your childhood's you barely even pass each other in the hall. He stayed in his room, you stayed in yours.
I'm older than him.
And we had a big difference between age, not huge, but big enough that it makes a.
Yeah, I'm a few years older than him. Cradle robber over here.
Cougar mama.
The first time he asked me to be his girlfriend, he was 6 years old. I'll say that, and I was like, our parents are probably gonna get married, so we can't really do that. But you're so cute, you know. And
he knew.
But that was it. Oh yeah,
he's always had a different. He's always had a different connection, and that should tell people something right there that the connection was different for him.
For the last 10 years probably, I would just be like, why do I have that feeling? You know, and I have siblings, but it's a completely different thing with him.
Right.
I hardly have any memories of him from childhood. I had a stepsister that was a couple years younger than me. He was a few years older than her, and it was his real sister. Mm-hmm. But we always called each other sisters because we were so close. And she actually passed away 5 years ago. And
but your bond was.
My bond was with her. Like, we were so close. We stayed in each other's rooms all the time. Like, we didn't even know he existed. He was just this annoying little kid that, you know, I would see maybe every once in a while. Maybe, you know, he might.
Well, he had other family that he spent a lot of time with.
I had my mom and my mom's whole side of the family that I was with. And when I was with my dad, I was with Maggie.
Right.
I remember my mom. I was living with my mom at this point, and I wanted to go back to live with my dad. And she's like, why do you want to go back over there? And I was like, I just miss Maggie. You know, it was just about her. And so, so it's strange, but if you actually were in it, my cousin actually came up to me at a show the other night, and we were talking. She's like, I have no memories. And we were together a lot. Like, we were together all the time at each other's houses. She's like, I have, like, no memories of him hanging out with you. Like, I didn't even really know he existed. I'm like, I know. Like, he's doing his own thing with his neighborhood friends or playing in the creek or with his grandmother or whatever. Like, I definitely have a couple of memories of seeing him, but it was just like this annoying, obnoxious little boy that really got on my nerves. Cut to when he's about 21, I didn't look at him like so obnoxious anymore. It was more like, this energy is so ridiculous. I'm going to have to stay way over here. If you look at pictures of us, we're always like trying to stay away from each other in pictures. There's one where we got together in a picture, kind of on accident, and we're both leaned over the whole, like, both opposite leaning like this. It's funny.
I mean, you did everything in both of your powers to say this doesn't exist. This is just a, you know, and there again, this is not blood. This is not a
no blood.
Well, and there's
That's
no
gross.
Well, it wasn't a Brady Bunch thing either, where everybody just like super bonded.
It was your family. That's it.
And by the time you were 15, you were with Justin. So
I moved out at 17. I moved out of my house at 17. So
you didn't spend a
like
long
12.
Yeah. So he wasn't even old enough for there to have been this.
No, and I moved away
or anything.
I just moved back here like last year.
Yeah.
The end of the year before, I guess, end of 2018, I guess. So I mean, I lived in Tennessee. Lived in like
and I didn't
2 hours
even know.
away in South Georgia.
I think you mentioned him like twice in our friendship, and we talked about everything.
I never wanted to talk about him because it was always this weird energy, and I was always so afraid that everyone was going to pick up on it.
Right.
And I didn't want anyone to pick up on it. I didn't want him to pick up on it. But we could both. You know.
And you didn't know he felt the same way about you.
I felt like I could see it. I could see it across the room, and I could feel it. I've never felt such like intense energy before. Like, it was always like that, no matter what. And I remember when we told my daughter about it, she's like, Mom, I've known this for so long. I mean, I've been seeing him check you out since last year at the pool. And I was like, oh, she's like, y'all just work better together. Like, she just, I don't know. It's strange. He's,
and that's a big thing to know that your child, who normally your children, all kids want is mom and dad to be together, and no matter how unhappy it is. I mean, that was the norm, you know, when we were growing up. It's like you always just wanted your parent, like, I mean, kids would plot to get their parents back together even if they were married to somebody else.
I was trying to do that when I was like 5 and 6 years old. I was like, I remember looking at
just put them in the same room together, everything will be okay. And yet she's not even considering that. No. She's considering what, you know, okay, mom is happy when she's in this place. She's not happy when she's in this place.
And she said the same thing about her dad. She says that her dad and his new girlfriend fit better together. And it's not like we were in some crazy psycho abusive relationship.
No, not at all.
It was very much back and forth. We were very on off in our marriage. It was very much at the end. It wasn't like that always, but there's things happened.
I mean, I just never, like, I was around y'all the last probably 3 or 4 years, and it just wasn't. There wasn't a connection. It was literally like you were roommates.
Mm-hmm.
When you would be at dinner, when we would go places, you know, we weren't out together but a couple of times, but both times there wasn't even really. It was just like you knew each other.
Yeah.
You know, and if you see my husband and I together, it's always like, you know, we're together.
Yeah. And I feel like there'll be a part of me that always loves him, you know, to a degree, like
it's
a
your
certain
first
type
real
of
love.
and the father of my child, and we went through so much life together, you know. But as far as like being together in a partnership, romantically, like love, we didn't have that anymore, you know. And it was just kind of time. I think we were both scared to let go.
And I think you both came from a background that made you fight. Like you stayed in that wall up position all the time. You know, my husband and I went through that a lot when we were in our relationship, of just, you know, no, you can't come over here because it's not safe. You know,
Right.
if I completely love you, then what happens if something goes wrong? And
that was me for so long. And like, if I, maybe it would have been different if we would have met later on in life. I don't know. But I had so much crap inside my head that I just didn't even know who or what. I mean, I thought I knew who I was, and I was raised to be strong and stern and southern and this and this and this. And the more I got out into the world and the more I saw other people, the more I was just like, I really don't even. And all the things that I thought
when you're
growing
in
up,
your mid to late
it's all
20s, you
crap.
think you know it.
Yeah,
And you hit 30 and you go, I know nothing.
I know nothing. Exactly.
And you spend literally, I mean, I'm 47, almost 47. You spend the rest of your life going, I know nothing.
And
I thought I knew everything. I want to go back to where I knew
where I
everything.
thought I
because
knew
it's a little easier than it is now knowing I know nothing.
Right. And I think like one of the things that started me on this like growing journey was really as sick as it is was losing Maggie, because I lost all faith in everything when I lost her.
Well,
she was in an accident.
So I think it's just now there's not a moving floor, there's no floor.
Right. It was just like, I don't even know what to believe. Like, I've got to figure this out, because I knew like I need to search to find whatever my faith and my feeling is on things.
Right.
Or I'm just going to continue to spiral into some kind of crazy darkness that I don't even know how far I'm going to go down into that pit. I don't know what that could lead to.
And she was such a source of light for you. And I mean, even when you dream of her in surrounded in light. So I think that was like the darkness it was like, how could something that bright be taken away?
Yeah.
We don't think in those terms, because if we did, we wouldn't be able to survive day to day. If we think at any moment everything that we love can just be jerked out from under us, we couldn't function. So we have to function in a bubble.
That's another family. Oh, that's so sad for that other family.
Yeah.
That's so sad they're going through that hard thing, that tragedy. Hope that doesn't happen to us. I'm going to just keep going with my life. And when it does, it's like you don't. From the moment that happened, that woman that I was died. Like whoever she was, it was like you don't exist anymore, because now you know this can happen. You know what this feels like. You know this can happen. So now you have to build up who you're gonna be. Like now, because
when you start
can never go
everything,
back.
If you go back to that, it may be where the beginning of the end was for you with your relationship. Because
it's possible.
If you start thinking about, you start looking at everything from a different perspective.
Right.
And everything is, you hold on to the things, I think you cling on to the things that you think of as your everyday normal.
Yeah.
But you really struggle from that point forward to ever feel normal again.
Right.
And there is no, as they call it, the new normal. Because you will always live with that pain in a way that you didn't know before then.
And you've had your own trauma that you've had to deal with, that you had to deal with as an adult.
Yeah, and you get introduced to things that the foundations that you think you have get ripped out from under you, and you start all over again. And you just hope that, I was blessed to be at the point in my husband and I had worked so hard to get to the point where we were when these things started happening. We were sort of already past the working on us.
Yeah.
Not that you ever really stop working on your relationship, but we can we do, and we've had really hard conversations for about a week now, and I mean, sometimes each of us will have to throw up our hands and call mercy, because they do get so.
Y'all are so perfect for each other. I mean, I'm telling you, y'all are like the ideal couple. You're both so just comforting to be around, both of your spirits, and especially when y'all are together, it's even stronger.
Yeah, it's a really strange, strong, but it makes me emotional to even think. It is a strange, strong bond, and it's funny how I see him like have love for certain people, and there's some people he's like, they're nice, whatever. But there's like, he cracks me up with his, like, he's so overprotective of you. Like anything, when all this happened with you, he freaked. I'm fine. I'm like, it's fine. She's happy. I'm happy. This is a good thing. This person is good for her. It makes her, it brings the good parts out in her. He
calls me out on all my crap.
He does.
Doesn't let me get away with it.
But it's so funny. And I mean, Lee was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, it's okay. And then once we walked through, and he's like, okay, I see it from your side. I get that. okay. But it's funny that he has this, he has this protection of the people in his world that he cares for. And when you have, and I think that's like, I knew immediately with you, you had this giant wall, and I just walked right over it. I was like, because you're like, I'm a badass, and nobody's getting past my wall, and I was like, wall? And then I just came and sat down beside you, and we're like, nope.
Nope, I'm here.
And it's the first time I met Nick. I just walked up and said, "You're getting a hug because you're now my family." And he's like, "Okay, she's strange."
No, he's so fun. He's like that too. He's like me in that way. Very protective about the people he loves.
Yeah. And you can see it. It's like the spirit that they have about them.
Yes.
And Lee took some kind of personality test, and it was like it was like a protector type thing. And I mean, I do see it because when he has a bond with somebody, it's very protective.
When he's with you, it's always about you, and he just lifts you up, and you can just feel that. Like anytime, even y'all come to my shows, it's like when I look at y'all in the audience, I can just almost feel his energy. Like, this is my Julie. Stay away from my Julie.
Yeah. But he's funny because he's really come to a point now that he, as I'm growing as a songwriter, he loves, because we with our duo we do a lot of both.
He plays music too.
Yeah, he's an amazing guitar player, and we've been, he's a really good songwriter. He just won't do it, so I have to get on to him all the time about that. But he's great with electric guitar, and he's really good acoustic guitar player. But his love leans a little bit more towards like the electric side. So we've actually been having these conversations lately about, hey, why don't you find someone to play electric with? And he's like, why don't you find somebody to play more covers with? Because I just enjoy the singing part of it now that I've gotten to where I can use my voice better. I enjoy that part, and he loves the originals that we do. So, he likes the covers, but he's like,
do the best of both worlds. We can do both.
And he's like, whatever it takes for you to feel complete, I want you to do. And I've never had that in my life, to where somebody's like, oh, I don't care. I want to do this thing with you. We're going to do our thing. We're going to do it, but we want to do it in a listening room environment. We want to build we want to build our own little empire of Johnny and Jules. But outside of that, he's like, you go and do, you used to love being in a band. Do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I think you would really enjoy like sitting around with another slide player learning more stuff, because he sits and he plays all the time, and it's amazing how good he has become over the last few years. But he's not using it. So I think it's good because we're learning to build each other up and let go of each other enough to push each other out into the world and still have each other.
Well, yeah,
that's a hard thing to do.
That trust and that bond and that comfort with one another, and that's what's so important. And I think
it's a falling exercise.
Yes,
allowing that to happen.
I think, and I don't know this, but I feel like it might be one of the reasons that young marriages fail, because you grow so much from 20 to 30. And if you are not both like on this train of growth and development, trying to,
and we would grow together apart,
yeah.
together apart, and then around 40, we just went, okay, we want to go this way together, and we've been that way ever since, And I think our faith made it huge too, because neither of us, we grew up with the idea that we were Baptist, but it wasn't really like implemented.
Right.
And then I started going to the Baptist church with my dad, and I liked it. The first preacher that we had I really liked, and he left, and then when he left, I still kept feeling like something was different. And then a friend of mine was going to these inquisition inquiries, I guess they call them at the Catholic Church, and I was like, she's like, do you want to come? The last one's tomorrow. I'm like, I have so many questions. Like, nobody ever answers my questions. I have so many questions. She's like, well, come. And it was such a neat journey. And then I went through the whole, and then it's a 9-month journey to become Catholic, which is, there's no other religion that used to do that. And you're like, okay. But you need to know what you believe, what the faith is, what you're putting your faith in.
Right.
And then he saw the growth in me and started going to church with me and started feeling really connected and considering himself Catholic. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to sign you up for the class. I don't want to go to the classes. I'm like, well, you have to become Catholic. He's like, well, I'll just go to church with you. I'm like, but you can't experience the whole thing. And I was like, just one class. And halfway through the class, he went and bought his books. And he was on his journey.
Right. And everybody has their own way
and
to
it's
go.
what works for us. But we have so many friends that are Buddhist, and we have friends who are, of all different Protestant faiths. We have friends who just don't even know what they believe. We have so many friends who are lonely.
There I am. I'm a big meditator. I like to meditate.
But I think everyone is on their path to God.
That. Yeah.
And I think as long as you're on the path to God, you're going to find Him.
Right.
And He's going to find you, and you're going to, of course, I want everyone to have the fullness that we feel, but I'm not going to say what you're doing is the incorrect thing, because it's not. My job is to be, it's attributed to St. Francis, and it's something along the lines of speak the gospel in everything and use words when absolutely necessary. Yeah. And he's saying live your life as a gospel.
Well, it's funny because growing up in the Southeast especially, you don't run into a whole lot of Catholic people. Everybody's like Baptist.
Those are the weird fish eaters.
Right. Or you're Pentecostal, Presbyterian. There's just so many different ones. And I remember I was living in Nashville, and my daughter's in preschool, and she got invited to a birthday party, and it was at a Catholic church. It was like in their basement. I was just like, okay, it's gonna be like a church party. And so we go to this party. I'm telling you, it was insane. Crazy lights, a dance floor. Like, I don't know how. Like, it was the craziest thing. And like, her mom's talking to us and everything. They had just moved to Nashville from like New Jersey or something. And she was like, yeah, help yourself to the bar. We have wine and this. And I'm like, wine? Real wine at the church in the basement?
Yeah.
I think I like Catholic people.
Well, and I think it's because people just don't understand that, we believe in moderation.
Yeah.
And we also believe in, there's so many things that get distorted but I mean, and I hate the words liberal and conservative, but if you read the Gospels, Jesus was, he was about taking care of people. And that's why I'm so drawn to this part of the faith, to this church, is because it is about helping people. Our priest was telling us this weekend, our church, the amount that we have a thrift store, and people donate to it, and they sell it, and they use the money to help pay for people's needs in the community. There's it's just the last few years, over $1 million has been put out into the community. To me, that's such a beautiful. I mean, I want to live my faith.
Right. And I'm not like a church person, but I know there's so many good churches where they do help the community. There's a place where I go and like I'll sell like my daughter's clothes that she outgrows, and all the things that they don't use, they donate to a church that in turn donates to a battered women's shelter for the kids. And so that type of thing, that type of community outreach, I really appreciate, from
we've just gotten
people
so
of
lost from
religion and faith.
what faith really is.
Right.
We've become about political parties. We've become about all these. That's not what faith is.
Yeah.
Faith is living the gospel.
Right. Yeah.
And
for me, I'm just over here trying to figure it out. I'm looking into what Buddhism is. I'm looking into everything. I'm like, this is this religion. This is this religion. I want to figure it out for myself with my God. Like what He wants me, what I'm supposed to do on this planet. I want to be just very aligned with that and not look to any outside influence. Personally, that's just where I am in my journey. And it's strange because Nick and I, like after I lost Maggie, I was in on that whole thing, and he was doing his wild, crazy, whatever he was doing. We won't talk about that. And then, we kind of came together and really got on the same path and same journey. And I've seen so much growth with him, and just trying to find himself too, And it's been insane. Like I've never seen him pray. He's been praying, like what? But it's our own thing that we're both on the same vibration or something with how we think and feel about things. And we didn't even know that. We avoided even communicating with each other. So
I would have never thought that my husband would want to become Catholic.
Right.
I just never would have thought that. So, and then I read a book about a woman who was completely grew up, as an agnostic, just didn't, almost atheist at times, and her dad was that way. Her mom had been, I can't remember exactly what her affiliation was, but she didn't associate with it anymore. And, she found herself, I don't remember how she found herself at the Catholic Church, but she found her way to God first just in these instances where she would just feel like she got hammered, slammed backwards, you know, and then she's like, okay, God's trying to, you know, apparently there is a God, and He has something He needs me to know.
Yeah.
And I think that's
when we
start.
all have a purpose.
And I think when we realize that those voices, if you want to call them voices, they're not really voices, those prompts, as Lee and I like to say, those are from the Holy Spirit. However you see Him.
Yeah.
That is God's voice for you.
If we're created by this all-powerful being, doesn't He know? I mean, it would make sense to me. He would know how every single one of us thinks and what would work to get through to every single one of us.
And all we have to do is stop being so prideful.
Just be open.
That we keep Him out.
Just be open and ask. Like, that's what I've always thought. I always, you know, when I would go to church, and it was just very much like, this is the only way, and if you don't do this way, it's just very, you know, which there's so many beautiful things about growing up the way that I did in the church that I did, but there's that aspect of you have to go only this way. And I used to always think about, what about the rice farmer? I always just picture this rice farmer for some reason in an Asian country who never had anything to do with this southeastern religion, you know? And he was just this, you know, he worked for his family, and he was just like this open person looking, you know, with his own religion, just trying to do the best he could, and, you know, look to what he believed in the highest love and good. And I thought, there's no way a creator would send him to hell. Because
that was one of the things I asked. That's so funny. That was one of the first things I asked when I started going to the inquiry. It was, you know, what happens in this situation? And they say, well, you know, we have to understand that each person, if they're seeking God, we can't say anything other than, you know, as we pass from this world to the next, He's there waiting.
Right? We don't know anything. At the end of the
day,
none of us know
anything. You know, we can say with good faith, if we have faith, He's there. So if that rice farmer has been searching for Him, when he passes and he sees the hand of God reaching for him, he's going to grab it because that's what he's always wanted. He may not have had the Bibles or the things that he needed to get to that. And no one, we didn't fail him by not getting to the rice field because his heart already knew God.
Right.
And so when he passed, he knows whose hand is reaching for him. He already knows his face. That's what we have to,
Because it's really about inside. It's about trying to be a good person, doing the best that you can, for me, growing and evolving and seeking. If you truly believe, that you're here for a purpose, which everything is all ideas. Nobody knows anything. There's no scientific proof of anything. As far as the Bible or anything else goes.
And the more who
knows? We could be in a simulation.
Well, and we do find there are things that we found that are scientifically able to prove that some of the things that happen in the Bible actually have happened. I mean, there are things now that we're able to say. There's a rock that's worn away by water where it's basically right where the Bible says that the water came out for the people in the desert. I mean, there are things that are proving stories, but at the same time, you can prove to someone the shroud. You could prove to someone the shroud exactly how it was created from the moment that Christ's body passed through it. If they don't want to believe it, they're not going to.
Yeah.
For
me, I just really like to find my own faith, my own path, and even science is always growing and evolving. The same science that we
everything
have today
is changing, and
it's not the same science from how long has science been around? Like 500 years or something. Like we're babies in all of this. We don't even know what.
And that's where I think faith
years.
has its point, is that it's the belief in something greater. You can't look outside and see how beautiful the world is and think that there's no God.
I have a feeling. I've seen crazy things. Not tripping on anything, just to my normal weird self.
Right.
I've seen things and I've felt things, and I felt people around me that have passed. I've heard them. I'm inside my own head, not even a thought. It's more like
a presence.
Yeah, it's like I can hear them from the inside out. Is the only way. And I've only had a couple of experiences like that, but I have, and I've seen what some people would call paranormal things. I've seen, and so I know there's something going on.
We know once we reach the point where we can acknowledge that something out there is greater than us. We are on a path
Oh,
to something.
for sure.
And, it's,
And that we have it in us. If our Creator created us, we have Him within us.
I just can't believe,
I know you and I both do this. We fight ourselves.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the good in us, because I can only speak for me. I was kind of taught to.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
you want to tamp down the goodness because it's weakness.
right. And so we both do that. And that, to me, that is that God part.
Oh,
That
yeah. He's
love
always trying to
and
bring you back into the,
those gifts.
the feeling of, yes, you use your gifts for good. And I recently had an experience, Leanna had a weekend of trying to figure out, are we on the right path musically? And everything we turned around, it was like God was saying, yes, here. We go to the church, and, and the priest, we had a guest priest, and he said, what is your purpose? And I was like, or what is your, not your purpose, but like, what do you do? Who are you? And I'm like, I'm a songwriter. I mean, that was the very first words that came into my head, and I was like, I'm a songwriter. And then all the artists and other things fell behind it, but that's who I am. This is who my, besides being, a child of God and all of those things, but he's asking what your drive is for, that you can do for other people.
I'm always so torn between being a mom and pursuing things harder.
Right.
Because people don't realize, like, for my genre, or whatever you want to say, it's a lot more, like it's a lot more authentic. And so
but it requires way more time on the road.
Way more time on the road, and I have a child, and so I'm like constantly going back and forth. I love playing music, I just love it. It's my home. I feel home when I'm on stage. After I play a show, I feel like, this is what I love life. This is it. This is what it's all about. But I miss my kid when she's at school.
I know, but you also have that same, when you see her, you have that same look on your face.
Yes.
So it has to be, with me not having kids, it's an easier choice. You don't have, you do have to, it has to become a balance.
Yes.
And I do think that there are evolving things in our business that are going to get better in some ways, because so many more people are hosting house shows. And, people are opening these little tiny, and I say tiny, 100.
Fun.
It's amazing to go and play a room with 100 people or less, and that, even 25 or 30, and they stop afterwards, and you can stop in the middle of your set and say, I want to tell you about the song. And they're like, oh, that's how you, because they want to know, how did the song, who doesn't want to know why, what's the story behind an Eagles song? How did Desperado come about? You want it to be you want it to be profound. Sometimes it's not, but you want it to be.
I remember being a little girl, and like any song I would hear, I always pictured the person writing the song. And it was what I always did. It was just where I went. My mind, it was like, oh, how did this come about? I could feel it so deeply. But I always pictured the man that was writing the song was this overweight man in Nashville with a lot of like jewels and gold jewelry. He's just writing his songs and making all his money. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm gonna go do that, But when I went there, which we can talk about that that's for another podcast, I'm sure. But just the way that I wanted to go about writing and what I had been through did not lead me to being a staff writer.
No.
It was a lot more.
And you're not a big writer. Like,
artistic.
we're very different in our writing styles, because I'm an observational writer, where yours is what my emotions definitely go into mine, and I definitely put my elements in there, but I'm more of an observational writer, where yours is more, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through, this is who I am as a person. And it's like, I was listening to the story of how Angel from Montgomery came about, which is one of my favorite John Prine songs, and he was talking about, he was just thinking about how this woman would feel. Mm-hmm. And that's me. Like, that's a lot of times when I write something, I think about, well, how would this, or someone tells me a story, and I think, how did that feel? And then it comes out. We have a song that had cut by someone else because it needed to be sung by a male, but I wrote it about my husband's childhood, and I took all the stories he told me, and I see things in pictures a lot of times inside my head. So I took all of those things and turned them into words. And I took all these stories he told me all these years and just tried to turn them into a story. And then when they came out, you know, to see the emotion on his face.
You're good like that. You're good with that. That's
observational writing is, and I think sometimes it's.
I do that with you. I'm like, I want to say this.
Exactly.
And then you're like, you'll spit back a little text or something. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with having to feel this out.
Exactly.
But
I don't want
this is
this
what I'm
emotion.
thinking.
Yeah. And I don't want to deal with the emotion of what I'm thinking or feeling, so I write observational, and you don't want to deal with what someone else is feeling.
You know, that flow, and we've gotten better with that flow.
Exactly.
The cool thing that we've got a good song we're working on right now.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm very much. I would like to do more observational once I can get through maybe all my craziness, but I don't know. I'm just
and
like
may never be your style, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just everybody writes in their own style.
I'm definitely more just like so much craziness in my brain that it helps to get it out. It really does.
Well, the songs are amazing, and they're some of my this last album is some of my favorite songs just lately at all. And
I know I feel like there's so much more to release now that I've learned so much, and I still feel like I'm a little baby on this journey, but I still feel like I've gained so much knowledge that I've got another record that I need to write, you know, and coming at it from a different perspective and a fresh perspective. I can't wait to see what comes out.
And that's what's so cool about the way that the world has changed. I mean, there's so much that sucks about it. We'll talk about that a lot on another podcast, but there's so much that's good in that you can change you can change your genre at any moment.
You don't need record labels. You can do whatever you want.
And I mean, that was like, we had the conversation. I mean, we feel a little differently about Garth Brooks, but I thought I always admired him for the Chris Gaines, because he was willing to say, look, I have a good enough voice, I can sing pop music.
I get that point. I just couldn't handle the little goatee thing.
No, I'm not saying I like the album cover. I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm talking about strictly the music and the voice. And I did admire someone who, in a time, and it did almost ruin his career.
I love the early 90s Garth Brooks.
I think it almost ruined his career, and it's sad that all he wanted to do is something similar to what Sturgill's doing. He just went about it in such a different. It was just the way.
But
that
he was not like a songwriter. Like Sturgill's like this.
Right. But the genre change was really.
I feel like I connect to him just because he's crazy. Like, he's just like stuck in his head, and I'm like, I know what it's like to be stuck in your. I mean, I don't know Sturgill. I'm just saying, lyrically, I see it and feel it as a songwriter.
Oh yeah, I walk around in the fog all the time with words running around.
Yeah, and you just know, like, he's in that all the time, and that he's growing and learning and evolving. And those are the artists that I really look up to. Are those people who are really analyzing their life and their choices and where they are. Those like Cody Jinks, you know, and Sturgill, Jason Isbell, and Amanda Shires, Jason Isbell's wife, I really like her, Lori McKenna.
And they're willing to take those chances and almost change genres in midstream just to see what happens.
Be free and say, I want to do this because I feel like it. And you know, they've built up, you know, spent enough time on the road and had all the right, you know, publicists and this and that to build that up. But you know, there's so much that goes into all that.
There is, and it's a long journey.
It is, and you know. That's one thing too, is the faith you're talking about. Going back to that, like, there were certain people in my life that I knew were not for me for years and years and years and years and years and years, and I could hear them just chirping, and I would hear things they maybe say about me to this person or to that person. There were all these different things going on, and when all of this mess happened, and I got divorced, and I'm with Nick and all that. Man, their masks came off, and they came like, I mean, crazy at me.
The first thing that came to me was like banshees, you know, like in the old movies, like where something would come out of the dark and just come at you.
Yes, and most of these people I did nothing to, which, you know, I didn't do anything to anyone. It was really between Justin, me, and Nick, and our life that you know. And
I think that's where I think social media has created, I mean, and look, it happened before social media, but 24-hour news, social media, entertainment networks has made us think that we have some right now to make observations out loud.
And like our opinions about someone else's life
really truly matter.
Even matter.
And they don't matter.
Nobody, like, live your own life. You know, your opinion means nothing. Like, the fact that you have an opinion about my life and my choices, what is that? If I'm not, you know, hurting anyone, I'm not
destroying your children, I'm not destroying your life.
Right, but it's pulled back those voices. Having those people disappear from my life has freed me in this weird way to, I'm almost afraid to be so free mentally.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how to, it's like, whoa. I don't ever have to worry about dealing with them in a conversation and be fake, because, you know, I hate being fake.
Right.
So I don't ever have to worry about, like, what do they really think about me? What are they really saying?
And it goes back to being normal. You are normal for you. That's just, and they want a cookie cutter, and you can't be a cookie cutter.
Well, it's people I've known never really liked me.
Yeah.
But it, like, you know, everybody probably has, I mean, I would imagine, unless you have, like, the perfect family, and if you do, whatever. But, you know, like, if you have, like, those friends, and it's not just family, like, there's so many people in my family who are so supportive of me.
Yeah, I mean, you have a great family.
It's so many people in my, like, so many friends that are very supportive.
We have to ferret out those people in the periphery, and it goes back to the thing where I always say, you know, it feels like Ursula's tendrils are inside your head, all the bad things, and if you start pulling them out, you can function so much better without all these other.
Yes.
You know, it's like these shock waves running through you all the time of voices of other people. You're judging yourself based on those voices that don't belong to you.
Right.
Those voices are not yours.
And see, what's crazy, and the faith, you and I coming together, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And we grew up in the same area pretty much and didn't know each other till I was living in Nashville.
Yeah. And Natalie sends me, says you have to go meet this person.
Your cousin, and
yeah.
I went to school with your cousin and hadn't talked to her in years.
Yeah.
And, you know, so thanks, Natalie. So, like, you know, it's so funny. It is just like one of those life things, you know, like you and
those are one I call them my God things.
The God things, yeah.
It's like he says, this person, you know, this person needs you, and I need you because you're the other side of my, you know, you have the freer side, and I'm a very hippie person in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm very hippy dippy in a lot of things, but I'm not in others, and you're very so in some and then not in others. So we actually balance each other out in a really good way.
Yeah, we really do. You help me in certain ways to be a little more open, and maybe I do the same things. And maybe
I mean, it makes me think life. I look at things differently, a little more open-minded, you know, because of things. And
I used to be so down on myself. I was the villain.
Right.
I believed I was the villain. I am the villain. I am
responsible for everyone else's happiness.
I ruin everyone's life all the time because I make music, and no one actually ever knew what it was like inside my home.
Right.
No one ever knew. No one ever knew our life, what we had agreed upon.
And you're awesome, you suck. You're awesome, you suck. And it's like, you know, I mean, in one world you fit, in one world you don't. You know.
And I think so many people battle that. When you start talking to people, I have come across so many other people who do battle those voices, you know.
I think we all battle them, and I think it's harder. I think it's louder in artists because we are outside of societal norms.
Yeah.
It's not that we're not normal, but we're outside of societal norms. So what we
see through a lot of tribal type of behavior.
Yes, and we don't really belong to any tribe or clan the way that a lot of people do, because they go so tight into that. But we're always wanting to meet, because being an observational writer, the more people I meet, the more stories I hear. Now, I have my core people who are my trust zone that I don't, you know, they're the only ones who know me.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of people who I love and care about who are out, you know, it's like the circle things. We've talked about the circles before, you know, there's only 2 or 3 people in the tiny circle, and every circle that goes outward from there is a little less they know about you. And, you know, the further out the circles are, the less they're in your actual sphere.
Yeah.
You know.
I used to, I don't know,
we let too many people in the circle.
I let the wrong people in. The good people I would just keep at bay for some reason.
Right.
And it was just like, oh, well, these people have known me forever. They knew me my whole life, so they have to be in here.
And if they don't believe in you, you almost want them more because that's what you were taught.
Like, I have to show them.
Right. You're taught to chase them.
I'm going to show them, and I'm going to be there for them. I was always the one who everybody called to tell them their problems.
Yeah.
Or to talk about the other one, and blah, blah, blah. And I got so sick of that the last few years, just having certain friends, too, that it was just like, I'm going to call you to tell you everything going on with me, but I'm never going to be an ear for you.
I was just watching a podcast about this, or she was like Facebook Live, but I mean, she's very similar to a podcast, and she was saying that, she's like, I need you to write these people's names down. Like, as I'm talking, when they come to your mind, when the people are doing exactly what you're saying, write these people down. And she said, and then I need you to systematically figure out how to not remove them completely from your life, but remove what they do from you.
I will tell you, I remember I was in the shower. This is before everything even happened. And I was like, God, and I did this a few different times in my life over the last probably 2 years. I am too dumb to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I feel like I don't have the right people in my life. Certain things aren't right, certain things are, and I don't know which way to go. And I remember just like saying the same prayer like in different ways.
Right.
A few different times. Please disconnect me from the people I need to disconnect from.
Little did you know it was going to happen the way it did.
And connect me to the people I need to connect to.
Right.
Because I'm too dumb to know the difference. And I'm messing this up every which way that I can.
My friend used to always say when she got to a point that she didn't know how to pray anymore, she would say, God, help me with a brick.
Yeah.
And she said, and she's like, sometimes I did not like the brick I get hit with, but I had to accept it.
Well, I think that too is like, I had it in my mind that my life was going to go a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's going to happen. And I had my
and
first
people are
record
suddenly going to
really
start believing in me now, and they're going to start supporting me.
Yeah,
they're going to think my music's
how
amazing.
Good things were going, I might add a little bit. Even, how people always say when things are going great, that's when all your cheerleaders come out. Mine was so terrible. Even when things were going good for me, people would pretend like they didn't hear about it. They wouldn't even I'm going to purposely not congratulate her on anything because I don't want her to think that I know she did something worth, any type of good.
Well, it's like it takes away their light to give to your, you can't.
And I want everybody to win. Like, I'm just that person. Like, I think everyone has something good, and I have a couple good friends that I've watched grow. And I have one of my really good friends lives in Nashville, and I've just watched grow and take on those gifts and own it, not just be so afraid of those gifts. One of my good friends is now she's training to be a yoga instructor, and she had no idea this was coming. And she actually had told her daughter, she's like something about you should be a yoga instructor and travel the world. And she's like, I don't want to be a yoga instructor. You be a yoga instructor. And she's like, oh.
and it's funny how we do project it out onto other people what we want because we're afraid of actually doing it ourselves.
Yeah, and she's just owned it. She didn't just.
But it's such a beautiful thing that she was able to realize, oh, this is actually for me.
Yes.
And take ownership of it and do it because I think that's the thing is that both of us have wanted things so much in our lives that we didn't take ownership of and didn't grab hold of, or we did them to the small degree. That's always been my worst thing is doing things to the small degree because like I would get to a certain point, as a painter or a writer or a photographer or whatever it might be, and then I would tell myself, okay, well the next step is a big one and you're not worth it. So just stay here in the comfortable where you're just okay.
Where you're okay.
And then you bore of it because you don't take that next scary step.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something in music that I just have not let myself. I mean, I literally, since the 30th of December, I have not missed one day playing guitar.
It's those little steps.
And it's just forcing out. Last night I was exhausted. I did not want to do anything. I was so tired. Everything on me hurt. And I was like, this would be the perfect night to just go to bed and get on a heating pad. And I didn't. And then when I got finished with that, I thought, I need to do my vocal exercises. I've been really good about doing those lately. And I'm really seeing my voice expand. And at my age, that's really important because your voice starts going backwards from 50 on. So I need to keep those registers just as fluid as possible.
Right.
So I went ahead and did that. And then, now I did collapse on the heating pad afterwards, but I mean, I did force myself through those things. And I was actually really proud of that last night because I was like, this would have been the perfect time because I can do that in the worst of times. then in the good times, what can I accomplish?
Exactly. That's what you
have to build off of.
Yeah. That's kind of the hard. I always did that too. Like I felt like when things were terrible, I would write the best.
Oh yeah, because you have so much more to connect to.
Things are good, and I'm like, eh. But I mean, I do see that changing and evolving. Like I said,
some happiness. Yeah, I've got some words to a love song, and I'm just like, what do you do with these?
What is this? What is this feeling of love? Nick and I were both just like,
kind of melody even
the
goes
villains.
with.
The villains of what we were both just like, do you feel this too? You feel this too? What is this love thing? You know, we were both not used to this at all, but we respect each other so much, and
we probably searched for it so much in life, and then when you found it, you
no
didn't
idea
know what it was.
And all I ever want to do was be away from here. And now here I am. Like, apparently I don't always know the best choice.
You don't know where you're being pulled or directed to.
I don't. And I've had a hard time even accepting it, like the way that I feel. I've had a hard time even accepting, like, this is where I am, and I feel good. It's like you're not allowed to feel good.
And there's a huge music scene here if you just find when you tap into it. And there's a lot of really different genres that you don't have as much in places. I mean, Nashville has huge genre things, but you typically have to kind of stay in a certain place to be accepted. Where in Atlanta, I mean, even last night at open mic we went to, there was probably 4 genres that came up, like one right after the other. And then everybody in the room was just like, "This is cool." Each one was accepted.
The only thing is, it's really hard to play live nowadays, and make any money at it. Anywhere, especially around here.
And that's why I think the house party thing and things have become such a lovely thing, is because people are realizing artists need to make money, and they're doing, money at the door, and they're cooking dinners and having people over. And I mean, the artists are making more money than they would on a venue 3 times the size, because they're not having to pay out, because these people are they're opening their homes, they're opening these listening rooms, they're bringing you in these spaces.
It's been I used to just think, oh gosh, all the people in the Southeast, all they do is listen to mainstream country music, blasting small-minded,
but
music.
There's so many people looking for us.
Right, and that's, playing a few places that I've played around here, I've seen that, and just actually getting to connect with people, and then they'll follow me on social media, and just getting to connect with them, and go to the next show that I play. And so there, it is cool to know that there's an audience out there that's hungry for something authentic.
Right, there's a mixed bag. I mean, and I think that because Atlanta has really blossomed so much in the last 10 years and became an in-city world again.
Yeah.
It used to be everything was outside the city. Now it's like in the city is allowed, and I think that's people have moved back to that more urban feel. Yeah. And the urban feel is not mainstream. It's artsy, and it's dirty, and it's gritty, and all of these old mills are being converted.
And authentic.
Right.
And you just have to find that group.
All these industrial buildings are becoming like,
yes.
And that doesn't, you don't see a Prince cover band hanging out in the warehouse district. And I mean, I love everything Prince ever did. I thought he was amazing, but I mean, a cover band is not, it's not going to fit. It fits a vibe like what we do.
Right. And it's cool to just know that audience is there, and they're not the type of people who are following something to be cool or be tribal.
No, and they exist, and they want to support you.
Yes.
They want to be a part of it. They want to know how you
and we appreciate them.
Oh my gosh, more than we could ever imagine, realizing that there's people out there that hear you.
It just feels good, because when you have that gut thing to create and write and play music, and I've had it since I was that big.
Oh yeah.
And it feels so nice to connect with other people who get it and who see it and who appreciate it. And
I remember finding my mom had a recorder, like you push the 2 buttons to record, and you push the button to play, and like it was empty. Well, this was like the old black one, school, like that they played along with the slides.
Like the red record button.
Yes, and that's and I can remember trying so hard to write songs, not being able to play an instrument, just try to make these melodies come out of my mouth and my head and these words, and and I was probably, I don't know, maybe 11 or so, maybe even younger than that. I mean, it's just like, and then but I didn't know how to
You were just
proceed
an
to the next level.
artsy child and you didn't know.
I
I was just like, I'm gonna do it. But when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I thought I would be Madonna. I didn't know. I was like, we're going to the mall. I'm gonna make myself look really cool. Maybe people will think I'm a pop star. And I'm like 6. Like ridiculous.
And here you are singing Americana.
Here I am. Yeah, but through life, it's just got me to be more authentic, more off every year. It's just like
dirt emo as you know,
real. You know, as far as creating, it's just like I did more of the pop country thing at the beginning, and it just made me feel like dirty.
Right.
It made me feel like you're not. This is not like we're talking about like faith or the feeling like we're in the right place. I knew I wasn't.
Right.
And even if I was writing the songs, they weren't coming from the right place in me. And so I had to.
They sound fine. They're fine, but they're not.
My gut was like, nope. There's a
nothing
couple
like
of them
Queen.
that were all right. Right. But when I know that feeling, like when it's good, and it's not that I think it's good, but
Right.
I know the feeling when it's right. You know, like, oh, this is right. I feel peace from this lyric, or I feel peace from the way that this sounds, rather than, cool, this rhymes. I'm pushing that out.
Right.
You know, but.
And my brain works in rhymes, but they have to be, like, they have to make sense to me. Like, I'm not that person that's like, oh, you know, truck and schmuck. Okay, that works. No. I mean, like, it has to feel right. A lot of times,
You know when it feels right.
and a lot of times when I've rhymed it, what I've learned is that it actually takes me on a whole other journey.
Yeah.
Because
That's our
I
problem
start
as writers
looking at-
together, though.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we end up
We
chickens
end
and
up.
squirrels and all over the place.
We're gonna have to get in a bubble or
Yeah.
something.
And not be allowed to talk about other things.
Right. Not be allowed to talk about.
That's what
anything
this is
else.
for.
Yeah. That's what this is. And our songwriting is a whole different thing. Well, I think you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, so
It's fun.
this is the first Gilded Cage, and we hope to see you back, and we hope you don't think we're nuts. And if you do, that's okay, as long as you
cool.
tune in.
It's cool if you think we're nuts, dude. We think
are a
we're
little-
nuts.
we
all
know we
over
are.
that.